development in Nigeria, which is the provision of food and employment opportunity. That's the benefit of agriculture, that is the importance, that one serves as the importance of agriculture in Nigeria, while others serve as the problems of agricultural development in Nigeria. 2. Our second example is what? Which of the following is not a characteristic feature of subsistence farming? That is, which of the following is not a characteristic, that is, a feature of subsistence farming? The first one is usually scattered and small farms. B. Lack of specialization on what to produce. C. Production not dictated by market forces. D. Production area not isolated from economic influence of the outside world. E. Production not dependent on weather and soil condition. If you look at the array, we'll say that D is the answer, that is production area not isolated from economic influence. Because if it is, that one has to do with commercial production, but others are in line with the characteristics of subsistence farming. Because if you look at that D, it said production area not isolated from economic influence. That is, economic influence affects of the outside world affects the production, and what the economic influence of the outside world affect is the commercial. It doesn't affect the subsistence farm, because it's just meant for the farmer to feed himself. Then number 3, you have the agricultural production in West Africa can be improved by the following, except 1. A. Ability of farmers to purchase modern farm implements. B. Expensive irrigation of farmland. C. Adoption and proper application of tested findings of agricultural research. D. Continued adoption of communal land holding system. E. Adequate supply of improved seeds and livestock to farmers. If you look at the question, it said agricultural production in West Africa can be improved by the following, except what? Continual adoption of communal land holding system. Now, that D is the correct answer. You know why? The reason being that if we should continue the adoption of communal land system, if we are from the east, you can't go to the west and say you want to cultivate or get the land and then plant or cultivate or plant some crops or raise livestock, because you don't belong to that community. You can't make use of their land. So the way of improving agriculture in West Africa is to discontinue, not to continue, the adoption of communal land system. That's the reason why D is the correct answer. Then, number 4, which of the following is not correct about the importance of agriculture? A. Production of food. B. Provision of employment. C. Provision of the basic raw material for agro-based industry. Then D. Serving as the main source of foreign exchange. E. Serving as a source of income. Now, if we look at the array of options being given to us, we are talking about correct about the importance of agriculture. Now, agriculture can't just be the main source of foreign exchange. Just like Nigeria, our main source of foreign exchange is crude oil. So D is the correct answer. That is, agriculture does not serve as the main source of foreign exchange for Nigeria. But agriculture serves as production of food. We don't have any other source that produce food for us. Then provision of employment, yes, correct. Provision of the basic raw materials, yes. Agriculture provides basic raw materials, and it also serves as income, source of income for the farmers also. Then the last question we'll be treating is land tenure system is a process of A. Conserving soil types, determining the suitability of soil for agricultural acquisition of land for agricultural purposes, acquiring land for agricultural purposes. C. Acquiring land for agricultural purposes. D. Determining mineral deficiency of a soil. E. Developing land for building industry. The correct answer is C. That is, land tenure system is a process of acquiring land for agricultural processes. And with this, we come to the end of our first theme, which is the basic concept of agriculture. Now we'll go to the second theme, which is agricultural ecology. And the first topic we'll be looking at is the meaning of agricultural ecology and ecosystem, just as we are having in our slide. Agricultural ecology can be defined as the study of crops and farm animals in relation to their environment. That is, the study that deals with the relationship of living organisms with one another and with their immediate environment. Agricultural ecology is divided into two main branches, namely horticulture and synecology. Horticulture is concerned with the study of an individual organism and its environment. Just like now, if I'm to study you, that is a student it's just like horticulture is just like the study of a student in a class or in a school, or a rabbit and its environment. That is, if I'm to study a student in a class, that is, I'll study the students and its environment. Now, coming to the field of agriculture, the study of individual organism, be it a plant, that is individual, not collection, individual and its environment. Then we have the synecology, which is concerned with the study of the relationship between different species that form a community and their interaction with the surrounding environment. Then ecosystem. An ecosystem is a community of living organisms in conjunction with the non-living components of the environment. Things like air, water, and mineral soil interacting as a system. This biotic, that is the living, and the abiotic, which is the non-living components, are linked together through nutrient cycles and energy flows. Components of farm ecosystem. The farm ecosystem is made up of two main components, namely the biotic, which is the living organism, that is the living component, that is the living things, the living component of the ecosystem, and the abiotic, which is the non-living component of the ecosystem. Now, the first one, which is biotic component. This is a component that includes the living things, that is the plants and the animals. The biotic components can be classified into autotrophism and heterotrophism. Autotrophism, also known as producers, is a group of organisms that produces complex organic compounds such as carbohydrate, fats, and protein from simple substances present in its surroundings, generally using energy from light during photosynthesis or inorganic chemical reaction during chemosynthesis. They are producers in the food chain, such as plants on land or algae in water. That is, autotrophism, from the name auto, self, tropism, producer. That is, tropism means nourishing. That is, self-nourishing. Autotrophism are producer, they produce food by themselves. And they produce the food themselves using the sunlight, using the nutrients in the available in their environment to produce the food they need. And then the second one is heterotrophism, also known as consumers. It's a group of organisms that cannot produce or manufacture their own food, but depend directly or indirectly on autotrophs for their food. Heterotrophs eat other organisms to get their food. That is, they feed on others. They feed on other living things to get their food. Then they use the energy and material in that food to grow, which is unlike autotrophs that produces their food they use for growth. And then the energy and materials in that food, they use it to grow, reproduce, and carry out all of their life activities. All animals, all fungi, and some kinds of bacteria are heterotrophs and consumers. Animals that feed directly on autotrophs, that is plants, are known as herbivore or primary consumers, while animals that feed on primary consumers are known as carnivores or secondary consumers. While omnivores eat both plants and animals, just like human beings. Human beings eat plants and animals, that is, they boil their plant, they boil their animal, although the animal has to go through some processing before eating it. Then we have the second component of the ecosystem, which is the abiotic component. The abiotic components are the non-living components of the ecosystem. Example of abiotic components are the chemical, the geological factors like soil, minerals, rocks, and the physical factors like temperature, wind, water, and sunlight. These are the non-living components of the ecosystem. That is, they are the ones that form the abiotic components of the ecosystem. Now, the next subtopic we'll be looking at is the interactions among the components in the terrestrial and aquatic agro-ecosystem. The plant, which is abiotic, interact and make use of non-living